Mr. Chairman, TAPMI Management Institute, Dr. Ramdas Pai, Guest of Honor, Mr. Manish Sabharwal, Director of the Management Institute, Dr. Saji Gopinath, members of the Governing Council, other distinguished guests seated on the dais, guests before the dais, invitees, proud parents, ladies and gentlemen, and last but not the least, the future of our country, the young graduates of today. I deem it a great privilege to be here standing before you, giving the 24th Convocation address. Just before I came to the auditorium, I just took a small tour of the institution, and I must say, the graduates seated before the dais are the privileged ones who have had the luck and all the support to come to a wonderful institute such as this. And I would like to commend the efforts put in by the management to create very student-centric facilities in the campus to ensure that the children of our country, the future of our country, got the best in whatever way they could provide. I also would like to offer my congratulations and my sincere wishes to the parents seated before the dais. And just as much as the students here are proud today to be graduating, I'm sure the parents are equally, if not more proud in seeing their wards actually receiving their awards today. So my congratulations and my best wishes to the parents also seated before the dais. However, I do have a written speech, but I don't think I would actually be going by it. It only brings to my mind a small incident when I entered the parliament, new in 2004, when I was grappling with how do I actually go about the functions that need to be done by a parliamentarian. How do we raise questions? How do we participate in debates and various issues? When I had a senior colleague of mine give me a very strong advice. He said, Purandeswari, all you need to do is raise your hand. Ensure you don't put it down till the speaker sees you. Your hand may go numb with pain, but don't put it down. The moment the speaker calls you, rise, start speaking. Within 2 minutes, you would hear a bell. Ignore it, because that's the duty of the speaker, to ring the bell within 2 minutes to ask you to stop. But remember, it's your duty to speak. So you continue speaking for n number of hours. But what followed was very interesting. He said, ensure you speak for n number of hours, but don't say anything. I was at a loss. I really didn't understand how I should be talking for long hours and not say anything. Well, by the grace of God, I didn't have to actually follow his advice. But after having heard Manish speak, I think I'll have to resort to it today. I would just like to briefly touch upon the present scenario and the challenges that, as young graduates, as the future of our country, you would actually need to live up to. The term emerging markets was coined by the World Bank almost a quarter of a century ago. But it was really accepted in the 1900s, in the late 1900s. India, alongside Brazil, Russia, and China, is considered one of the strongest emerging markets. And we must realize and remember that India is still in its nascent stage, has great potential to grow, and would be growing very soon and very strong. If we were to look at the importance of emerging market in today's world, half of the world's population today lives in the emerging markets. The contribution of the emerging markets to the global economy, that is the global GDP, is about 40%. And the 10 of the largest metropolitan areas are in the emerging markets, 7 of them in the Asian region itself. Forbes has come out with the 20 richest men or people in the world, and 7 of them, I think 10 of them are from Asia, with 3 of them from India itself. Having said that, NIC, one of the chief organs of CIA, had averred not only in 2005, but even as close as 2008, that India and China are going to be the emerging super economic powers of the 21st century. Barring a few upheavals in these 2 countries, NIC emphasized that there's no way that anything can stop the emergence of these 2 countries. And this bold and confident voicing comes not only from NIC, but also from various other surveys which have emphasized the same. Therefore, even as I congratulate my young friends today, seated before the dais, who are graduating, I would want to take this opportunity to remind you that you should be ever conscious of the growing role and responsibility of India as an emerging leader in the Committee of Nations. Indian economy is today poised for the kind of leap that none of us had ever imagined or ever witnessed before. Who would have imagined or believed that about 2 decades ago, India would be seated on a huge foreign reserve, which is, if I'm correct, about $150 billion. Who would have imagined 2 decades ago that India would be able to achieve a constant economic growth rate of anywhere between 7 to 9%, even in the wake of the global meltdown or global slowdown that we were faced with for the past 2 years. It is here that we would like to see the young management graduates graduating out today to support and also to shoulder the responsibilities of a young, nascent, growing India, a country with a 1 billion population, with a 300 million middle class, ever-growing middle class, can no longer be ignored and marginalized. And therefore, there is a huge responsibility that rests on the fragile shoulders of each one of you seated before the dais. And even as we look at the magnitude of India's role as an emerging economy, we should also have to accept the enormity of the challenges that come along with it. And we need to devote and emphasize a lot on the development and growth of leadership at various levels in our country. And you have to act as facilitators in honing the leadership qualities in your respective fields in order to equip yourself to stand head and shoulder above the best in the world. In this context, I would like to remind you that in India we have islands of development or excellence in a sea of underdevelopment. And the dichotomy of these opposites is very difficult to handle. And therefore, you have a challenging charter ahead of you as leaders in the field of development and growth. And you should be able to facilitate the intellectual capital of the Indian industry, management, education, and technology with a view to enhance the overall productivity of our blue chip industry on the one hand, and also be able to take the mass of the medium and small enterprises on the other hand to compete with the best of the rest. Everyone today recognizes the 21st century as a knowledge century, and nations which have developed mastery in the production of knowledge, its dissemination, its conversion into wealth and social good, and its protection have assumed leadership position in the world today. But it must be recognized that knowledge without innovation is of no value, and it is through the process of innovation alone that new knowledge can be created. It is also innovation alone that can convert knowledge into wealth and social good, and in fact, innovation must become the way of our life. We have now an opportunity to start the resurgence of an innovative India. And what do we need to do? We need to build new social, legal, and economic structures that will support innovation. We need to make the symbol I in India stand for nothing less but innovation. And I am convinced that just as we have launched